Here it goes.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our Board Budget Subcommittee. Today is June 27th. This is for the regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting, which will take place June 29th. And at this meeting, our trustees, Vice President Prasad and Trustee Zhang, will lead us through the board agenda, reviewing items of fiscal impact for the district. And with that, I believe we need to remind everybody to acknowledge their presence in the meeting by putting in the chat that they're in attendance. And as we're doing that, I will ask if anybody has received public comment for this meeting. I have not received any public comment at this time.
I have not either.
Same thing here.
Okay.
Go ahead, James.
Oh, me neither.
Same thing here. None.
Thank you very much. Well, with that, we will turn it over to our trustees and we will begin moving through the agenda.
Sounds good. Now, one question. So what I have as the agenda that was emailed.
Did we lose you, Trustee Prasad?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So no, I was asking that for there were some items that were updated. So what I have in my email is an agenda that maybe obsolete. So Trustee Zhang, do you have the latest one?
Yeah, so we will be working on the agenda. The agenda was published Friday night.
Yes.
I can send over a link for that real quickly if that's preferable.
Yeah, please do. Some of my internet is not working very well to open it.
But CJ, Superintendent?
Yes.
So I am using the version from the member drive. So that's the most recent one, right?
That should be. That's correct.
Yeah. So let's open that one, Trustee Zhang, so we can just go from that.
Okay. But I also think that if we go to our district website and then we have the most updated version as well, right? If we go to our school district website, and that should be the most updated.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then I can.
It will take you to board docs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So.
And that will be the most up-to-date version.
Okay. So let's move to. Okay. Now I am. So the first one is 10.1, which is not budget related. And 10.1, 10.2 are not. Let's look at 10.3. Approve the staff recommended textbook adoption for trigonometry, $98,000. So this is just to renew the books, which is out of print.
This is for the trigonometry textbook adoption. It's on the consent calendar because it comes with under $100,000, and this reviews the process our committee used and the text that they were considering. And staff is requesting to approve a 6-year adoption for trigonometry.
Right. Okay, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, this is
Shall we?
this is it. So we can move on.
Okay. So let's see. The next one, 10.4, approve educational software for guiding instruction for next year, which is for $29,000 using e-log fund. And this is for, actually I'm trying to reading. Is that for kindergarten?
It's used mostly in the primary grades. Most of the time it will be used in transitional kindergarten, first and second grade. My experience is that it is predominantly used in TK and kindergarten classrooms. And this is a software program that has become quite popular for the use of some skill practice and also assessments.
Assessment. So it's kind of equivalent to iReady in that function.
In a similar context, yes. It's
that-
not exactly the same, but in a similar context, yes.
Okay. Okay, so this one is reduced price because we have fewer teacher license. Okay, that's good. And let's move to 11.1, quarterly investment report. And this one, a question is that the quarterly, is that for October, November, December? And this one said November, December, January.
This is the report, the latest report that we got from the county just recently. There's been some lag in regard to the reporting that they've been given to us, and so they're looking into it. But this is the latest report that we received from them, and the updates have to do with November, December, and January. That's the latest of the last 3 months that we have information on.
So we generally review it whenever we receive it, by every 3 months.
Yeah, we usually wait until we receive it from the county, but then the county office contact, they said there's just been some lag in regards to them receiving information. So they're going to look into what's going on and trying to get it more updated so we can give you all more regular updates.
So James, any comment from you? I only noticed the annualized rate of return is reduced quite a lot. It's like 0.5. And before I remember it's like over 1%.
Yeah,
so that relate to
based on the average. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, is that related to the current the stock market turmoil?
More than likely, it's the average. Is the average of the last 3 rate of returns on our last 3 quarterly or last 3 monthly reports. So it more than likely has to do with that.
Right. So I do remember. I was pretty surprised by this return because I remember we usually get 1% return. I mean, even that I thought that's so such a minimal return on that.
It's not the stock market. So basically, they have to use safe funds, right? So they don't really generate. So it's usually mostly debt, and some of it matters also on the liquidity positions that they have to take. So the more liquid the funds have to be for the districts, then the lower rate of return that they get. So usually that's in their report. Would probably tell you why their rates. That's usually in the report that comes.
Right. So I'm going to look into that. I think a 10% usually coming from the treasury fund, but it's like, why this? But okay. Just my comment on this return. Shall we move to 11.2 of staff authorized to authorized staff to enter into agreement with Harris School Solutions for the child nutrition service software for $31,000. And Superintendent, can you give us a background on why we changed to this program?
Yeah, our program hasn't been updated for a number of years. And so the intent here by our staff is to bring our program up to date. And this is something that will be paid for out of our cafeteria fund, Fund 13. And ultimately, this is just bringing us up to speed, which will help us with our meal counts, our inventorying, and all the things that we use the software for, and is catching us up on about 10 years of not having software updated. And the company that we're using currently likely will be out of date for proper functionality if we don't make this update.
Okay. All right. So is that it should be a straightforward transition, right?
Well, part of the reason they chose software is based on the compatibility and integration with what we already have in place. So I think this gives the staff like this gives us the highest functionality.
Okay. So when will we use this one? By beginning of next school year? I mean, this coming school year?
I'd have to check with the IT team to see how quickly they could get everything up and loaded and updated, but I would anticipate that our child nutrition team would like to use it as soon as possible, hopefully in August.
Right. I hope that we can practice using it, in the summer, so we can just make sure it runs smoothly before school starts. Okay, let's move to 11.3, authorized staff to file a notice of completion with S&H Construction Company for the portable locker room expansion project at Honor Middle School, $1.639 million. And this is just a procedure, right, to file notice of completion. Is that right?
That's correct. This is filing our notice of completion, which is required, and it helps us close the construction agreements and indicate that the project is fully complete.
Okay, so I have a question about the other two, Kennedy High School, and another school we're doing the renovation. So is a locker room also included in that project?
I would have to go back and look at the scope of Kennedy. Off the top of my head, I don't believe that the locker room is directly included unless it involves the HVAC improvements that are planned across the site.
I see. Okay, the reason is because this one, we did an initial project and we think the locker room was too small, and then we changed that. And that's why we had, increased the expense on this project. So if we want to do something for the other high school, I would like staff to look into that and then just design, at the beginning, then start doing a patch-up work at a later side of the construction project.
Certainly understandable, and I agree.
Okay. So, all right. So let's look at 11.4. Authorize staff to enter into agreement with project stabilization agreement coordination service with the labor compliance managers for the modernization project at Kennedy High School. And this one is $98,000. I skip all the hundreds. So this one is I just want to clarify, it's for this Kennedy High School project alone, and it's also an annual service fee. Is that right?
This is for Kennedy High School specifically, and this is for our project stabilization agreement, or sometimes referred to as our project labor agreement. And that agreement with the Alameda Building and Trades Council has specific requirements for local hires, for wages of employees that are working on the project. And so this is a company that will help us ensure compliance with that project stabilization agreement.
It's not an annual thing, right? This is the agreement, and then if the project goes longer or needs to be modified, we'll get an amendment.
I believe this is for the original, the scope of the project, Trustee Prasad. I don't believe it's an annual.
Okay, so that means every project we do, we have to have this kind of report.
If it's a bond project, our project stabilization agreement is specific to Measure E bond projects. And so if it is a bond project, then we likely will have some company or some third-party vendor who is assisting us in the compliance with the project labor agreement or project stabilization agreement.
So you know, we're talking about having a new bond program in the future. So do we have to honor with the labor union's contract, or we can start and reevaluate the situation? Let's
I
see if we're
believe
gonna.
our project, I believe our project labor agreement is specific to the Measure E bond. So if the district were to pass another bond with the generosity of the community, then I believe the board would need to make a decision at that time on another project stabilization agreement.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the clarification. So let's look at 11.5. Authorize staff to enter into agreement with the district panel of qualified law firms for legal counsel. Is this the routine annual renew? Do we add any new legal firms? I'm looking at all firms.
Sorry. We are not adding any new firms this year. I don't know when the district may have last added new firms. I don't believe we've added any for the 2 years that I've been here. This should be an annual process where we're bringing updated agreements with our law firms, or at least the updated ranges. Each law firm might have a different cycle in which they increase or do not increase their fee for service, but this is just ensuring that we're bringing them forward for approval annually.
Okay. And Trustee Prasad, do you have any question on this one?
The question, well, it seems like these 5 were there last year as well, right? But what I don't know is how the rates may have changed from last year. There's so much of continuity required for the type of work that we are doing. So from my perspective, it'll be good to have the prior rates in the table here for the discussion purposes, so we know the changes. Otherwise, I have no concerns.
But I do notice that on the cost, the legal service cost, and this year we have spent a whole lot more than last 2 years, 1.8. So I hope that is invested in the update in the closed session. You know, we got. I don't know whether I can discuss that here. Right. So I would like to know that, you know, the firm we use for service for the other case in a closed session, and how much we spend on that particular case.
We can't hear you.
Oh, you can't?
No, not you.
Oh.
Sorry, it was my microphone. We will gather the costs of where our legal fees are broken down.
Okay. Thank you for that. So let's see what else. 11.6. Authorize staff to enter into agreement with construction testing service for material testing and inspection service for the modernization project at Kennedy High School. And that is $53,000. This is also just a routine procedure, right? Before we start a project, doing the testing.
Yes, this is for testing and inspection services required by the Department of State Architecture. And so we have RFPs received, and the proposed bid is to go with construction testing services based on the scoring.
Okay. Construction services. Okay, so spending plan. Okay, so 11.7. Is this something to do with the finance? Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is
Please go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Trustee Jen. Oh,
Oh,
this
no,
is
I've
just
just. Oh, please go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, this is a routine annual procedure in regards to the Education Protection Account, or EPA. It's a requirement based on receiving these funds. They were supposed to provide a spending plan during the adopted budget process on how we're going to spend it for the subsequent year, so the upcoming 22-23 year. Traditionally, we just spend EPA dollars on teacher salaries. So if you see the summary in the attachments, we just pretty much lay out how much money we're receiving in EPA dollars, and then showing that we're going to spend it all on teacher salaries. It's about $6.4 million.
Right.
Yeah, everything else is zero.
So as a matter of clarity, it's not program dollars. It's just, if you recall, basically when the state was coming out of the recession, they passed an extra tax specifically to make sure that the LCFF dollars can stay at the level that they're at. So it's just basically cash to fund the LCFF money that we receive. And then we have to say how we're spending that cash. So it's a form of state aid, as you can see, for total funded LCFF.
And so then when we pay administrators and the management from the general fund, from the general LCFF, but this one specifically can only be paid towards teachers' salary.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So let's move to 11.8. What was that?
So this
Okay.
is another routine thing that we do. It's so during summer, a lot of money movement happens, right, for accounting purposes. So this is authorizing staff to do that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Trustee Prasad is correct. During the summer when we're closing the books, it allows us to do budget transfers as we reconcile the budget and close out the 21-22 school year. But it's a routine procedure that we do annually.
Okay. So, okay, maybe Trustee Prasad, you can take from here, and I'll jump in.
Okay, so then let's see, 11.9, there's no fiscal impact. It says, so some mutual indemnification for the parcel tax. So no fiscal impact there, so we'll skip that. The next one is agreement with GLUMAC for Thornton. So this is just the next phase of or the next expense. It's a small $8,000 expense here.
Well, here I have a question. So if it's under certain amount, it should not be bring to the agenda, right? I thought we gave a superintendent authorization to do 22,000.
No, I
Yes.
think the authorization
I have
was
that.
to pre-spend, but still the approvals still come to us. So he doesn't need to wait for us to approve.
That's correct. So we do have authority to enter into a contract. Myself, the associate superintendent, I think the numerical value is somewhere just above $23,000. But even if we were to enter into that contract, it needs to come forward to the board for ratification.
Okay. All right.
So this is an amendment to a contract that we had. So it's already above the 22,000. Now the total contract amount is 64. Right? So it's not each individual contract; it's the contract in total as well that you look at. It's an amendment to the contract.
Right. Okay.
And moving on to the next one, the AMS.NET. Last meeting we reviewed and authorized the use of the purchase agreement. I don't know what it was called that time, but this is now trying to purchase using that that arrangement we put together last time. So maybe James, you want to?
I can go. So basically, this is one authorizing the use of the buying agreement from last time. We've updated the equipment quote. It's up just a little bit from last time as we were truing up the actual list. Additionally, we're using it to do an ongoing license for our paging for our other schools off of that list. So as you see, it's been split between the equipment order that we showed the board last time and then the 5-year licensing agreement. So those are the two items that are on there. And
so there's a 5-year license agreement for the software part of it, or what?
For paging, it gives the ability to page off the Cisco phones.
Oh.
So that's for all sites for 5 years. So it's basically we need to get that so basically our phone systems can work.
Okay. Oh, that way. Now, and any support and maintenance of this equipment and warranties. So, what type of I mean, these networking equipment usually comes with a maintenance contract. So, do we sign up for that, or do we support ourselves?
I'd have to look at the details whether there's a separate. There's no in here a maintenance agreement and what their maintenance.
Which made it.
Normally on the phone systems, and this is for buying the equipment itself, and then obviously your kind of maintenance or whatever using is that subscription for some of that paging for one of the services.
Okay, that will be good to know. If there's how do we plan to pay for maintenance and repairs for this? Is that covered somewhere, or is that just expense that we take on as and when needed?
I'm not sure how they do that on all these phone systems. A lot of times with the prices, they tend to just do replacements of equipment. The set goes out.
Yeah, so I mean, usually the set and those are easier to replace, but the central equipment that is installed, if that those are expensive. So anyway, I mean, I'm not looking for answer here,
Yeah,
but
we can go back and see if there's because there wasn't a separate maintenance agreement.
Okay.
So we can go back and ask technology about that.
Sounds good. And then the next one is to approve the child care joint use agreements. So maybe Superintendent Kamek, you can describe this one.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Prasad. So this actually, even though it says fiscal impact and the dollar amount, this is revenue coming in. So as part of our desire to provide after school care, even though the district doesn't provide it directly, we have a process where vendors provide it, and we had some schools that didn't have after school care. And again, as the board may recall, as part of our extended learning opportunity program dollars, different than our ELOG dollars, our ELOP dollars, and that program requirement is to provide some after school care for some specific schools and our unduplicated students. So with that, we put out an RFP, and these are the groups that have come forward through the RFP process, and we are seeking permission from the board to enter into joint use agreements with Right at School, childcare for joint use at Bringhurst, Blakeow, Cabrillo, Green, Hirsch elementary sites. and you can see the table listed below.
Yeah, and a lot of community members were talking about this, so it'll be good to have expanded after school care. And does this also include morning before the school opens, or is it only after school?
I'll have to go back and check on that. I don't recall off the top of my head. I don't know if anybody else on our call might have that information readily available. We'll have to follow up.
Okay, sounds good.
Now,
And,
I have a question about when you look at the Bringhurst Elementary. So how do you read the chart? And who is going to be there?
I believe it's Right at School would be the group that is there.
Oh, okay.
Based on the score.
I see. Okay, so is that higher score? Would it be staying there? What about the Blackhawk Elementary?
So I believe they will be right at school as well, as their higher score was 89. Some of these companies didn't submit a bid for some of the schools.
so pretty much right at school is the highest score for all the sites.
Correct.
And this one, did you say this is one of the bigger chains?
Right at School is a national chain, but we will still have local, we'll still have an agreement with the city of Fremont for the after school program that they offer. And we still have other local agreements at some of our other schools as well.
Yeah, so that would be, I mean, we discussed this separately, but that could be something to publish. Because Adventure Time, I suppose, is a local outfit, right? So in this situation, if they were at those sites and are being replaced by someone else, then
yeah, I don't think that we're displacing any of our local contractors.
okay, that's it'll be good to clarify when we have this agenda item that day.
Yes, but I also want to know that we're talking about the Mandarin immersion program at Bringhurst. So where do we find information on that? That's also after school program.
Yes,
right?
so their after school program would be provided by Right at School.
Oh, okay. I don't know that they have the Mandarin program there. Okay. Right at school. Okay. I thought there was be some kind of the after school which has already provided service at Las Vegas, and then they're gonna moving back or something. Not the case.
So they did put in an RFP, but you can see that their scores were much lower. And remember, the Bringhurst is an elementary school that is community-based, that is now home of our unified MIP program, but that there are also non-MIP students that will be at Bringhurst.
I see. Okay. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, then let's go to the next one. So this mental health therapist. So maybe Superintendent Kamek, you can explain this is an important one.
Yeah, so this comes through the funding of our LCAP. It's part of our LCAP plan, which is designed by our LCAC, which is representative of a broad spectrum of employees, community members, and student voices as well. And this is money for 4.8 positions, so 80% positions. And these are for associate mental health therapists. These are classified job descriptions. They've been through our personnel commission, and now the job description itself has to come forward for final board approval.
Sounds good. Then let's move on to the next one. So the local LCAP, so we will have discussion there. So then moving on to the next one with the with financial impact. So 15.3, this is about some budget resolutions to commit funds. So can you explain that?
Sure.
Yeah, so
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, CJ.
oh, that's okay. 15.3 in general is our budget for the 2022-23 year. And as you'll recall from our last meeting, due to the state being what we call test 3, we have an obligation to make sure that our reserves are below 10%. That's not specific just to Fremont, that's every district in the state, unless they meet a few specific criteria, which across the districts would be a very small number. So the majority of districts in the state will have to have their reserves below 10%. And part of the way that you can do that is through making a commitment to spend the dollars via a resolution. And so those are the resolutions associated with our budget. For context, in prior years, we would still make designations for our dollars, but we have to make formal resolutions this year in order for the state and the county to be accepting of our budget.
Sounds good. And the next one is about SRO. So this is just a report. Well, it's a critical item because we get to the end of the year, and the community is anxious to get that report. Then moving on to the next one with fiscal impact is Sodexo America. So we talked about the software being used that we are buying. So so that software will be used by as part of the service that is provided by Sodexo as well, right?
Well, this will be used by software by our staff internally. Sodexo may obviously have a role in that in some capacity. But as the board may recall, we sent out RFPs for food service providers. We received 2 responsive bids, one from Chartwell's, one from Sodexo. And based on all the conditions of the district at the moment, we believe it is best to move forward with a 1-year agreement with Sodexo. We'd reevaluate it in the spring. We would have the option, if approved by the board, to extend the agreement. But I also want to clarify that as part of our budget in 15.3, we are proposing, pending board approval, a new director of child nutrition services and supervisor, which will bring us a lot more local staff to control and influence our child nutrition program and provide direct support to our sites. We've heard from a number of staff across the district who work in our child nutrition program that there's a need for more centralized support, and we're looking forward to bringing that in next year. And then we also think it will be something that needs to be evaluated in terms of how it helps us address concerns within the program that currently exists. And we'll be adding staff across the district as well, because as many of you know and understand, we will have an obligation to serve breakfast at some schools that we are not yet serving breakfast at. So we'll be adding to our meal count significantly as well.
So we're going to hire 1 director, and so how many staff do we know? I mean, helpers for this
we'll
for
have
this increase.
We have an additional director and supervisor position, and then the hourly staff that work at our school sites. And I describe it as hourly because their hours are different depending if they're elementary or secondary, the size of the school. And so our staff, our HR staff, is meeting with our SEIU staff and our management team to best identify where do we increase hours, where do we add positions, and how do we strategically address the school site needs. So we don't have a specific answer today as to these are the number of positions and the number of places, because we're still collaborating about what is the best way to address that need.
So how many directors do we have right now for this program?
We only have a supervisor. We don't have any directors. There was a director position in the district a few years back before my arrival, and that position was vacated and then I believe eliminated. And we've heard from the staff at the school sites that they really believe this is a position that should be coming back.
Okay. And so do we have a job description for this director's program?
Yes, we have a job description from the vacated position.
Uh-huh. Okay, so I would like to add, like, we want to see whether the menu can be improved. We want to have a dialogue with the students, get their feedback. We also want to take control of the food waste. I mean, all these things are tied together. I would like to see that being implemented with this position.
Yes. Yeah. And those are
Okay,
things
great.
that our child nutrition staff is aware of. We wouldn't necessarily need to build those into the job description. Those can be provided as directions and directives to our director.
Okay. Okay, so now let's move to 15.6, approve iReady education software for the next 2 years, $873,000, $873,000 using ELOC fund. So is this a routine, right? Just continues the program.
This is a program we've had in place. We are looking at continuing it. I show the budget amount at $832,000. And it will be coming from our ELOG funding.
Okay, great. And the reason we use iReady because the staff think this is a better program to assess the students' performance, right? Plus the state tests.
Well, yes, we didn't have this program pre-pandemic. It was a program that we brought in as part of the pandemic, and we've utilized it as a local data measure since then, and staff would like to continue doing so.
Okay, great. All right, so 15.7, authorize staff to enter into agreements with non-public agency for extended school year. That's for this summer, for $278,000.
That's correct. So we have our special education students that attend extended school year as a part of their IEP process. And so students who have extended school year as part of their instructional program, many of them require additional services, either that we aren't able to provide with our own staff, or it's a service that we weren't able to hire staff for summer school. Remembering that our normal staff is not obligated to work summer school. And so these are positions where we have needed to contract for services in order to provide the services needed for these students.
Right. Okay. Thank you. 15.8, approve to maintain the current coverage for property and liability insurance. And I think, is this one we have talked about last time?
We didn't talk about this one last time, but it is an annual process. So our NorCal Relief is our liability and property insurance group. And this is continuing our agreement with them and also establishing an annual rate of approximately 10% based on where we think the costs will go.
I see. Okay. So now let's look at 15.9, authorize staff to enter into agreement with Rebound and Associates for environmental service for $160,000. General fund. What is this about? Can you elaborate, Superintendent?
So, yes, I'd be happy to. Rebound and Associates is a company that helps us with training and with the disposal of our hazardous waste materials. We've been contracting with them since around 2012, and it's time for us to renew the agreement. This is a 4-year agreement.
Okay, I see. So they are the one that collecting hazard material from our school district?
They help us with the disposal of that, yes. Not all hazardous materials, but for some, they help us with the disposal of some hazardous materials. That's correct.
Okay, all right. So what does that have to do with our general, like, say, waste service program, like City of Fremont, right?
For example, we wouldn't be utilizing our regular waste services or recycling services for our hazardous materials. We have special requirements under the fire code and health and safety code for how we process our hazardous materials on our school sites.
Okay, thank you. So let's look at, 15.10, authorize staff to enter into a joint use agreement with the City of Fremont for the traffic signal at Thornton Junior High School at the cross street of Thornton Avenue and Oak Streets. That's for $500,000 and using the fund of Measure 21.
So based on the expansion of students that we anticipate for Thornton, when that converts to a middle school, it will be serving more students on that campus. And as part of the approval process for the city, we have identified that we need to add a stoplight there. And this is a shared cost with the city.
Okay. So do we know when we're going to start the project and when we're going to finish? Do we have any data or information?
I'm not sure. Perhaps our finance or facilities team might be able to provide some information there. I believe much of the work has already started, especially in the design phase. We heard from someone with the city that they're in that process as well. I don't know if there's other updates that you might have, Bruce.
Yeah, we don't have updates. I know that in communicating with the city, they're kind of just going through the engineering and design phase at this point, and they'll get some more exact cost, but I assume that they're close to where this would be some type of summer bid and ready for the opening of school.
Okay, so I have a question on similar ones. Horner Middle School. I know that because I pick up kids from that location. And what is the process for us to, let's see, propose a traffic light? Is that the staff would be talking to the city, or how does this process start?
Ultimately, I do think we would have to start with the city. That would be our first conversation if that was something that we wanted to explore.
Okay, so I talked to you, CG. You said that the staff has also complained about the project, right? I mean, the problem, because there is one specific intersection, and it's pretty busy. I think it's the cross street is the church, and the other one is the cemetery, and I don't know what some other high schools or middle school have a similar condition, or this is pretty normal. I don't know.
Yes, I have talked with the principal about it. They are working on their traffic flow. We've had the SRO team out and the Fremont police out to look at some of the traffic patterns. And it's hard for me to say because I've only seen Horner in its current existence. I don't know what it looked like when the drop-off was designed differently before construction. So it's certainly something that we can continue to look at if the board wanted to move forward with exploring other options that are more permanent, such as the stoplight. Then we'd have to talk with the city, get board direction, establish a budget, and explore what that scope might look like.
Oh, I'm just like one way or another, I don't know. But I mean, since that we are having this project on Thornton, I think that we can ask our staff to see whether there's other area needs such service. And I think that would be really reduce the traffic jam, especially during the pickup and drop off, especially at our high populated middle school and high school. And also depends on the budget. So that's my comment.
Yeah, part of the Thornton one is a little bit different. Is that
Mm-hmm.
as part of the DSA review and
Mm-hmm.
the EIR, they said that we needed a center.
I
So
see.
the state mandated that we put one in. Where is on one that's not state mandated, we have to go to the city, right? And
Mm-hmm.
ask and then they have to go kind of agree and concur and agree to do a traffic study, and then they have to figure out how they would bear who would bear the cost of putting it.
Okay. So the state mandate is when they look at the situation, they think it's really much needed, right? That's why they mandate this traffic light.
Yeah, so when they looked at our architectural review and looked at where we're at in our plans, that was
Mm-hmm.
part of the DSA document in our our review documents that they
Okay.
said that we would need some mitigation effort.
Okay. Okay, that's
That's
good.
one of the reasons why we have to pay for it.
I see. That's good to know. Okay, so now I lose track of where I am. Okay, 15.11. Is that right? No.
Yes.
1512.
We're
right.
on agreement for testing services for the modernization project at Thornton.
Okay. So let's do 15.11. Authorize staff to amend agreement with construction testing service for the new construction and modernization project at Thornton Junior High. So this one is $133,000, and which is for construction testing. This is also part of the routine, right? Oh, actually, it's amendment. It's amendments number 2.
Yes, this is an amendment. These services are necessary to provide specialized testing and inspection services during the construction, and this is required by DSA.
Okay. So let's move to 15.12. Authorize staff to utilize funds from Fund 25 for furnishing and equipment for the opening of Lila Bringhurst Elementary School for $225,000. And this one we're going to use for a developer fee from the Bond 25.
So this is
yes,
for
please.
Bringhurst, and this would not be, for example, just all the furniture for the school. That's already been purchased. This is more of the startup costs for all the things that you would bring into a school at the very beginning. For example, library books, carts that you might need for moving things around the campus, consumables that you might need across the campus. So remembering that even though the facility is completed, everything that we need to go in the facility is gone except for the furniture. So we need all the things beyond the base level furniture, the consumables, the materials, the supplies. So that's what this budget is for.
Okay, thank you. So now let's look at 15.13. Authorize staff to enter into agreement with Premier Inspection Service for project inspector service for the modernization project at Kennedy High School. Inspection service. So that's also part of the bigger step. Is this for the whole project, right? Or no?
Correct. So this is inspection services for Kennedy High School. And this is within the budget, but yes, it would be for inspection services for the project in general.
Okay. So we get the Kennedy project line up, right, with testing and inspection and also construction.
Yes, number of items coming forward for the Kennedy project to keep it moving.
Right. Great. Okay. So let's look at 15.14. Approval of a resolution authorizing piggyback contract for lease of a relocatable structure with Mobile Modular Management Corporation. What is that? According to the Public Contract Code section, certain numbers. And this is just for what? Actually, can somebody explain this one?
Yes, this is a piggyback agreement, and that makes sure that we're in compliance with the procurement of the services and the actual buildings themselves. These are for our portable classrooms for the Kennedy construction project, so that we can move students out of some of the Kennedy classrooms while they're being worked on and move them into portable classrooms on the campus.
Oh, okay. I remember this one. Is that 12 mobile modular classrooms?
Yes, it's for 12.
Yes, 12
Right.
classrooms.
Okay. I remember this one. And so what is your experience? I mean, everyone on our panel on the school using, what's called rent mobile classrooms. Do any school district like purchase some and then use for a long time, and which is cost effective?
For this purpose, it's more cost effective to actually lease them for a short time. For the price that you're leasing all these, that probably doesn't cover the cost of purchasing one permanent portable. So the permanent portables are expensive,
Uh-huh.
and it would be cost prohibitive to purchase 12 portables for this purpose.
Oh, okay. So when you say purchase, it's not for the purchase of this modular mobile home. It's also for the permit associated.
So basically, if you were to put permanents, then
Uh-huh.
you have to basically spend all the money to there's also the soft cost of it. So you're purchasing the it's much more expensive than just the leasing of these, because you just need this capacity for a short period of time.
Okay. But I thought that our school district doing this a lot, from one side to another, we kind of move around and using those mobile classroom all the time.
Now, one of the questions I'd also asked is, can we move students for this period of time? So I don't know if you're getting that as a response to my question.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Trustee Zhang.
Oh, I think moving students may be hard, right? That means you have to move them to a different school location.
Right. So I mean, as we look at, we have sites that are open, right? So especially freshmen, they could go somewhere else. But I mean, it's one of those things. It's a difficult decision, but something to still consider.
Yeah, that's worth looking into that. Yes, because see, this one where it's cost like 400,000, and I remember, and a few years ago when I look at another one, it's like $400,000. So it's something we should discuss, and soon it's going to be $1 million here and there. Okay, so let's look at 15.15, authorize staff to amend agreement with DSC school inspector for the new construction and the modernization project at Thornton Junior High for $665,000. So can James or can anyone can a little bit details?
Yes, so these are additional services that are required to continue the inspection services during the construction. It's required by DSA, and so this is an amendment to the original contract. And this is for Thornton.
Okay, so all right. Okay. Staff member. Okay, got it. So, oops, sorry. Okay, so let's look at 15.16. Authorize staff to utilize fund allocated for the middle school contingency. Is this one still on the agenda? Am I reading?
Yes, it is on the agenda.
Okay, so utilize the middle school contingency at Centerville at Hopkins for the middle school conversion project in amount of $4.198 million.
Yeah, so this is, you can see the attachments on the agenda. They are the tabulation of where we're experiencing costs for Centerville and Hopkins for dry rot. And based on those tabulations, staff is requesting the authorization of roughly 4.2 million to be released for the projects of Centerville and Hopkins in order to address these needs and try and keep them on schedule.
Hold on, let me see. So this fund, 4.1 million, 4.2 million is already in the contingency fund. It's just the staff ask us to agree to utilize this fund for those specific project.
Yes, it's unallocated contingency fund. So there were some original. I mean, there already were some original contingencies in there for the projects before, and now they're saying they need more contingency. So they're moving the rest of the middle school contingencies to spend.
We are getting money that are not in these two projects.
Right. It wasn't in the project budgets yet. It was just sitting in a contingency that had not been allocated to the project as an accrued budget item. Hoping that we weren't going to need it. Now we need it to finish out the building.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so this is sort of we are kind of going over budget on these two programs, and the transparency for the community is that we had some sort of second level contingencies that were unallocated, and we are dipping into that for completing these two sites. Okay.
Okay, so the last one.
15.17,
authorize staff to amend agreement with Mecca Consulting Company, which is also the name is Millennium Consulting Service for the new construction and modernization project at Thornton Junior High for $190,000. So what is okay? Now this one I need to I need some background information. What is this consulting for?
So this is for industrial hygienist services at Thornton, and this is for the next increment of the project. So this has already been taking place for the first increment of the project. This is for the third increment of the project, and for the fourth increment of the project.
Industrial. Okay. Is this approved for modernization and sidewalk? So this is still part of the sidewalk portion of the program? I don't know.
It's for the site work and for the new administration and library buildings.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I guess that's the end of the today's discussion.
Yep, that's it. We've covered all the items. And thanks to the staff for providing all the clarifications. So we can close here then. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.